you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight to talk about three things that I really love: music, creativity, and AI. And typically when I talk about this at dinner conversations, I often get, frowning people. AI can never do great music because you need to have emotion. You need to suffer to understand how to write good music. And while I have some sympathy for that, being a musician myself, I think that's not really what's very important for AIs when they make music. What I want to do in this little talk today is talk about three things. One is, how does music AI work? What are musicians doing with it right now? And what might be the future of music and AI? But before we get into that, I think it's important that we understand how music works. I mean, not everything about music, obviously, because that's a huge topic. But what is it in music that allows artificial intelligence to understand it, compose, and perform music? And so, when you look at what's happening in music, the thing that is most important for the AI is not the feelings, is not sort of the emotions, the story, the sadness, the joy, and so on. No, it's the patterns. Music consists of patterns, and these patterns form the basis of the compositions, of the performances, and these patterns are evolved, they are varied, they are sometimes copied, and sometimes plainly stolen. And I just want to listen to you, with you, to a little bit of music so that you can hear what I'm talking about. We're going to start with something very obvious. That piece consists basically of one pattern only, or at least the first part of it. So when you listen, try to find that four-note pattern that you hear over and over again, but also try to find, is there any other music than the four notes, and see if you can find one. So let's roll the first example, please. Four notes. It's all those four notes, but now something new. So the music up to this point was basically just one pattern, right? Nothing else. Let's listen to another example. Here you have a pattern, and then other patterns that are similar, that are like it, they get added to it. And the whole composition is just made out of one pattern and others that are similar. It's a very famous composition, and what I want to show you is how it essentially is used throughout the history of music over and over again. No, go back to the first example. You have to let the first example roll through, please. So skip a little bit forward. Perfect, thank you. And then just let it roll, let it roll. Here's our pattern. You know this, right? It's very famous. A second pattern on top of it, it's very similar. And a third pattern, similar to the others. A next pattern, very similar to the first one. So you see how this works, right? The whole piece is a variation of one pattern. And then you can also take a pattern that someone else used and you write your own music based on those patterns. So listen to this. You hear the pattern, right, from the other song. It's in that song. The whole song is the same pattern. So how is that possible? We have a piece of music 300 years ago, one pattern. Then the Pet Shop Boys 30 years ago, same pattern, but the song sounds different, doesn't it? Well, it's the little changes between those patterns that make the difference. So you can use the same patterns, make little changes, and it has a big effect. And guess what? The AI is very, very good at finding those patterns in music and seeing the little differences and analyzing how they are applied. A couple of years ago, I got a phone call from Deutsche Telekom. Matthias, Beethoven will have a big anniversary coming up. We want to do something special for him. I said, what would that be? Well, he wrote 9 symphonies and a 10th he couldn't finish because of time constraints. Would it be possible to use an AI to finish that 10th symphony? Well, I thought about it long and hard, and I said, we can give it a try. But before, I called my friend Ahmed El-Gamal, who's one of the world leading experts in generative artificial intelligence for art, for visuals. And I asked him, do you want to work with me on that project? And Ahmed said, yeah, sure, but you have to teach me things about music. And I basically taught him stuff like this. And then he gave me a call and he told me, I have figured it out, Matthias. Music is just like email autocomplete. And I'm like, oh my God, I picked the wrong person for the project. How could he say that? And I thought about it a little bit, and he explained to me, well, you know, in music, every new note is the function of all the notes that come before. And when you think about it, that makes perfect sense, right? We know now about all of these patterns. And when we listen to a piece of music, all of the patterns we have heard before that we have internalized as musicians, as listeners, they are there somehow. And whatever we hear now, we compare it with that. And that informs our expectation of what will come next. And that's precisely what the transformer architecture does, which is the basis of GPT, ChatGPT, and so on. So we said, okay, well, let's try it out then, if it's possible to do this with music. And I want to play a little game with you. For those of you who are not convinced that in music, it's the same like in email autocomplete. The next note is a function of what came before. If I sing a melody and I stop singing the melody at some point, can you complete it for me? Okay? It's a very simple game, but it's only fun if you play it with me. So I'm going to be the fool here, vulnerable on stage, and you in the dark, you can also be a little bit vulnerable. So here we go. Ready? Da 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 da. Ah, see, it works. In music, the next note is the function of all the notes that came before. So we set out, we built this system based on music from 1750 to 1830. This is roughly from the death of Bach to the death of Beethoven. And then we fine-tuned it with the symphonies, the piano sonatas and string quartets of Beethoven, so that it would know his style very, very well. Now, the 10th symphony that Beethoven had written down was only ideas in his sketchbooks. And those sketches, they turned into our prompts. When the system was ready, we would give the sketch, which is the beginning of a melody, to the AI, and it would continue it in the style it had learned with the patterns it had seen in all of that music. So this was done 3 years before ChatGPT was published. And so a lot of people said, oh, that's never gonna work, you know? An AI can never do something like that. And in a way that was true, because we didn't have the AI press a button and then out comes a symphony. It was a team of humans working on this. I want to play another game with you where you listen part of that finished symphony. It's played by a beautiful symphony orchestra, all humans. And it starts with music that Beethoven wrote down in his sketchbooks. And then at some point, the AI kicks in. And I invite you guys to raise your hand when you think This is the moment where the AI comes in. We're going to listen to 1 minute of music, and you just raise your hand whenever you think. I can see all of you, by the way. And then I'm going to tell you where it really was. Let's just play this game. So let's roll the next track, please. There are some hands there in the second row. First row, 2 now. More hands. Hands keep popping up, then they go down again, then they come up again. Okay. Okay, thank you. Great, thank you for playing the game. We saw hands all over the place. Some people didn't even put up their hands, so they still think it's Beethoven. Let's hear the beginning again. That's the next track then for you guys. And I'll show you with my hand where the AI kicks in, okay? Let's play the next track, please. It's here. So all the music that comes after is actually AI generated. We can slowly fade out. But, you know, some of the moments that come after this, they are typical Beethoven. Like when I heard it the first time, I said like, whoa, this must be in the sketch. No, wait, it's not in the sketches. So we kind of, and by we, I mean the AI and the humans and everyone involved, we kind of nailed it, right? So what does that mean? We can't distinguish really between the AI and one of the greatest geniuses of music. This is the end of composition. We don't need any more composers. That's it. Musicians, find another job. Well, I don't know. We were unsure. We set out to build a tool, of course. Where would it lead us? The cool thing was, a couple of weeks after we had announced what we're going to do, we got a phone call from the British singer Robbie Williams. I mean, it's not Robbie really calling me, but his manager. But still, that's pretty cool. Yeah, Robbie heard about your project, and he wants to ask you if he can use the Beethoven AI to compose with him. And I'm like, oh, this is great. This is exactly, you know, what we had in mind. So we said, sure. I mean, if Robbie Williams wants to do something with us, let's do it. So we sat down with him and his team and thought about what we could do. Remember, our AI was Beethoven, right? And it was not Robbie Williams. It had no clue about the patterns in his music. It had never seen anything past 1830. And we were thinking, okay, but what if we do this clever thing that's called prompt engineering? Now we call it that. Back then we didn't have a term for it, really. Prompt engineering, we take a famous melody of Beethoven and some notes and themes from Robbie's song Angels, because he wanted us to recompose Angels with our AI. And then we used this sort of Frankenstein prompt, the Beethoven meets Robbie Williams, to prompt the AI to generate more music. And that music we then incorporated into a new recording of the song Angels. And I was really very proud of my team and what they accomplished with that, because this was the first time, to my knowledge, that someone had used this kind of prompt engineering on a music GPT to engage a living artist and his music with something from the past. It's almost like, in a way, Beethoven is still with us, and you can use his music to interact with and become a co-composer with one of the greats of all times. So I want to play an example from this song. You're going to hear the beginning, which is our prompt. It's the Moonlight Sonata. For those of you who like classical music, you will know the piece, combined with elements of angels. Then you're going to hear Robbie sing a little bit, and then where the solo is, this is where the AI music is. I'm going to point it out to you. So let's roll the next track, please. That was the prompt that became the intro.
I sit and wait. Does an angel contemplate my fate? Do they know I'm loving angels instead?
And this is now the AI part.
And through it all, she offers me protection, a lot of love and affection. Whether I'm right.
Okay, it's always hard to cut him off here. It really is. This was happening in 2020, all of this. And then 2 years later, we saw ChatGPT. And ChatGPT changed the game tremendously, because now, whenever I went somewhere and told people, oh yeah, we have an AI that can compose like Beethoven, they go like, yeah, so what? Of course an AI can do that, you know? And it was this complete game changer for the AI music world. Now, I want to end with an example that was done, basically a couple of weeks ago, not by myself. It's excerpts from a YouTube video. And what you see is a professional musician who is using the latest version of Apple Logic Pro. It's a tool that musicians use to produce music, to record music, and that comes now shipped with AIs integrated. And those AIs, I think they call them session players or something like this. They are like musicians that play with you on your music that you compose on the computer. So if you say you're a guitarist, you don't know how to play the keyboard, well, you just put one of the session players in your mix, and they are gonna play with you. So this is all AI based. Now that's a huge, huge step. We're talking about, 2-3 years difference in time. Like our system would create musical notes that would then be used by musicians, copied out in scores and then performed and so on. Now the AI does all of that for you. So let's listen to, or let's look at this video. And I'll highlight a little bit what's happening for you. So the composer puts the session player in, and the session player immediately comes up with an idea.
So we're going to have to do something about this.
He doesn't like it. He says, the chords are boring, right? It's a professional musician. He says, I'm going to change it a little bit. So he changes the chords. But he hasn't played a single note, right? He just said, use these 4 chords.
Kind of cool. Definitely cooler than it was before.
So he likes that. He makes it a little bit longer, the idea.
I'm going to bring the complexity down. I just want this to be simple. Take the fill amount down too.
So you see, the professional musician knows what they want, and they use the AI, and in a fraction of a second, the music
Sounds kinda
changes.
cool. I wonder if maybe we bring another keys player into the session. So
He's adding another instrument to it, also an AI.
see if it jives with our piano here. And maybe we'll put the electric keys through a bit of verb. I'm going to bring the fill amount down as well.
So up to here, maybe 5 minutes of composing, right? That's pretty fast to get to
Okay,
this
that's
point.
pretty much perfect.
Now he adds the bass.
Let's bring the intensity down a bit.
So the AI looks at what the music is in the track and then adds the bass so that it fits. It's like a real musician. Now he tries out the drums, and let me tell you, he doesn't like the AI drums at all. So,
Just going to use this all over beat.
so he says, like, I'm going to record it myself, the drums, which is cool. That's an important thing
And copy those out.
because you see a lot of machine-human interaction now. Yeah, and that pretty much sounds all right to me. So here you have a couple of views into what musicians are doing right now. They are using AI in their creative workflow, in the production of musical ideas, and then they combine it with human playing. And this combination of the human element with the AI is something that is already all over the music world. If you go on Spotify, there is a list of top trending tracks or something like this, it's called. 8 out of 10 are AI generated or with AI in the mix. So this, what you just saw there, this is what most professional musicians are doing already all the time. And now, what will be coming next? I ran out of time, but here are my 3 points. We're going to see a lot of AIs integrated into the instruments themselves, the piano, the drum kit, the electronic drum kit. Wherever you can have a computer connected, you're going to have generative AI. People are going to use that in all of the stages of music production. And the question of whether is that AI or not, no one will ask this in the future because everything will have AI in it. And the third thing is, a lot of people who want to express themselves in music, through music, they now have the tools to do this very, very quickly and to have a very steep learning curve. They can go into musician, go from 0 to master in a time that is maybe 10 times, 20 times shorter than it used to be the case before all of this. So with that positive note, I want to end and apologize for running over 3 minutes. I can always put the blame on Robbie Williams because he sings so beautifully. Thank you very much.